always say I'm going to try these books someday when I buy them, so that day is now today. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm coming to you up close and personal here because I'm going to be doing another reading first chapters type thing, a little bit different from what I did before. And I was talking to Andrew recently about this, and he suggested it. So I'd said it's something he's seen other channels do to help like try out some books and potentially choose to either like bump them up or just straight unhaul them if it seems like it's not working. So I am going to be doing that today. I've got 5 random mass market paperbacks, most of which I've had for a long time. You can see the varying degrees of yellow there. So I'll be talking about each book, reading the back. None of these do I have any real clue as to what they are about. A lot of these, like I said, I've had for a long time, or they're just kind of random ones that I picked up. So it varies with like when they came out and what they are. So I'll read what the book is about, show you up and close, which is why I have the camera closer for this one. And then I will read the first chapter and just talk about my thoughts. And we'll see if I decide that it's going to be something that I definitely am interested in reading, or if I very quickly realize that it's probably not going to be something for me. I know one chapter is obviously quite a stretch to really know what you're going to feel about a book. These, once again, though, are many books I've had for a long time in mass market paperbacks, so I figured this would be a fun way to just try some of them out and see if there's anything I immediately want to rule out to make some space, because I have no space for all of the books that I currently own, and God only knows I'm going to buy more books. So let's jump into it. The first one is Monument by Ian Graham. This one is one of the newest, actually, in the bunch. The newest in this one by a few years. And this is by, did I say Ian Graham, Monument? So this one we have, it does have a blurb from David Gemmell on the back, so that's positive. So here's the description for this one. Ballas is a drunk and a vagrant. In his heart there is only greed, and in his eyes only bitterness. Such a man is not suited to legend. He is fit only for an unmarked grave, and there are people who seek to hasten his journey there. When a young priest saves him from a beating in the street, Ballas does not know how to react to such an act of kindness. So instead, he betrays his rescuer by stealing from those who have offered him hope. But although what Ballas chooses to take can easily be hidden under a cloak, it is no trinket to be sold in the market for a bowl of soup. It is an artifact that will lead an army to hunt him down and bring the world to the edge of chaos. That actually sounds pretty cool. That's probably why I got this book, because I read that. So let's jump in and read the first chapter. So that was interesting. I've just finished the first chapter. And it definitely, we have the main character, Ballas, who's in a tavern, who's been sitting there drinking all day and decides to rob what are called stonemasons. And I'm gathering that they're some form of magic users. And so he causes a scene, goes away with a purse. They beat the living crap out of him, but during it he steals another purse from them, and then goes to visit a prostitute, and then they end up finding him and are threatening to beat him to death. So I imagine it says that after being beaten nearly to death, that's when he's found, and the whole thing goes. So I'm kind of torn, because I didn't really care for the dialogue in just the first chapter, but the synopsis does sound kind of interesting. And I looked up really quick some reviews on Goodreads just to see what other people thought of this, and it sounds like this is one of those books that is darker and really has no like good guys, bad guys. It's just like, this is the world. So it sounds like something I feel like it's worth continuing. So I didn't dislike it, and I am still interested in this one. So I don't know exactly how I feel, but I'm going to hold on to this one for now, I think, because I'm curious, and I feel like it would be the type of story where if I'm not feeling it a bit in, it'd be an easy one to determine if I was feeling it or not. But I feel like that does need a little more than one chapter. So next up is, well, this is book 1 of 2 of the Dragon Quartet by Marjorie B. Kellogg. This is from, the first book anyways, from 1995. First book is called The Book of Earth. I do have both of these two books. It's a quartet, but it's in two books. It was combined into. I mean, these are pretty beefy. Oh, and this has an old Borders sticker in the back. So somebody at some point bought it and knew what Borders it looks like. That is a really old sticker. But yeah, so this will be up next, and let's read the blurb here. With the publication of the Book of Earth, Marjorie B. Kellogg launched a unique fantasy series, The Dragon Quartet, a masterwork with an important message not only for our own time, but for future generations as well. That sounds a little odd. Almost a decade in its creation, the 4 volumes take us from the world's elemental beginnings to the far distant future. The dragons, earth, water, fire, and air were raised from the elemental energies at the time's beginning to create the world. When they finished their task, they were supposed to sleep until world's end, but long before that time, the dragons began to wake. The first to wake was Earth. He and his dragon guide, the girl named Erdi, found each other in 913 as war ravaged the German principalities. Yet even as they tried to save their world, Earth heard a call he could not ignore. A call that summoned Earth and Erdi to the African coast in the year 2013. There they found Earth's sister, the dragon Water, and her guide Indok. Together they braved the dangers of both their times, only to find themselves drawn to a future beyond Indok's own. I'm really confused because this is called the Dragon Quartet, and I did not for even a moment think it was going to take place in our world. So starts in the year 913, but then goes up to 2013, which should be interesting. So I'm really curious and confused because, like I said, I would have read this at some point probably, but I also might have just grabbed it because it was a quartet, and I'm like, hey, I got both of them, so that could be why. But so let's read the first chapter of this one and find out. Okay, so I've just finished the first chapter of the Book of Earth, Book 1 of the Dragon Quartet by Marjorie B. Kellogg. And I have to say, I feel bad for this because this is the first chapter of this book was written better than Monument, which I just said I was still interested in. However, it did feature a whiny 14-year-old girl as the main character, and I'm good. So this one I think is going to go into the unhaul pile. I did not really care for it. Like I said, it was well written. It's just not my thing. So I think this one is gonna go into the unhaul box for me for this one. So next up we have Lord of the Firelands, which is by Dave Duncan. It's a tale of the King's Blades. So I am not familiar with this one either. This is from 1999 is when this one is from. Looks like this one used to be a library book, actually, at some point. So let's read about this one. So the King's Blades. Once bound, a blade's life is no longer his own. Only death can break the gilded chain of enchantment that binds the bodyguard to the man he has sworn to defend. And never in living memory has a candidate refused the honor of serving his king. Until now. Young Wasp never intended to be a rebel, yet at the sacred ceremony of binding, he follows the lead of his friend Raider, and together they spurn the wishes of King Ambrose himself. Now Raider and Wasp are outlaws hunted by the very blades whose ranks they were a breath away from entering, and joined together by a destiny that binds them more securely than any knot tradition and sorcery might tie. Amid the turmoil their treachery has inspired, Wasp and Raider must undertake a desperate journey into the heart of the dreaded Firelands, and the outcome of their terrifying confrontation with dark truth and darker magic in this realm of monsters, ghosts, and half-men will ultimately determine the fate of 2 kingdoms. Already I'm annoyed because so many sentences started with "and," but we're going to give it a shot here and read the first chapter of Lord of the Firelands. So here we go. So the first chapter of this one was very, very short. I will say we do have this symbol here. Many-pointed star with earth, death, air, chance, fire, love, water, time. Kind of odd. And then there's a note on Baelish, which is a specific language. It says an archaic form of Chivian, written much as English was written 1,000 years ago. So I don't know if this is supposed to be an actual language or if it's made up for the book. Cool little picture. This was really weird, though. So it starts, somebody announces the king is coming, and then they send a bunch of, like, I guess, candidates. So, like, one of the lowest people that are in, like, this school, I guess, like, riding like crazy on old horses that are getting injured, and many of the people are getting injured, but they say they can just heal them, and they're supposed to go and tell them. And then it mentions the different ranks of people in this group. So the different types of candidates are sopranos, bean sprouts, beardless, fuzzies, and seniors. Which was kind of strange. And then the newest person to come is the brat. And so this is apparently the plot is going to be Raider and Wasp don't want to become swords. And apparently you become a sword through conjuring that involves the king stabbing a sword through your heart, and you're supposed to survive. But apparently not everyone does. And this was just a whole lot of strange and weird. It definitely did not pull me in at all. The first chapter was extremely short, so I'm not really interested in this, but this is definitely one of those books where I could potentially be making way too snap of a judgment. So, has anyone read this? This is apparently like the second book, but it's a standalone, and either of the first, apparently there are a total of 3, and it does say that at this point the third book wasn't out yet, but you can read any of the 3 as standalones, but if you read any 2, you're supposed to read the third to make it make sense, which is also strange. So like I said, I'm not really keen on this, but let me know if you've read this, if it's worth it. I am gonna move this, I think, to the unhaul pile for now, but it'll probably be a little bit before I actually unhaul these books. So let me know if I'm making too snap of a judgment. This just seemed really odd and did not particularly pull me in whatsoever. So I don't know about that one. Oh God. Next up, and I remember specifically I got this a while back. I bought on eBay. It was $20 for 20 random fantasy paperbacks. There were some good ones in there, and there were definitely some not so good ones in there. Some of them I've already gotten rid of. But we have Dragon on a Pedestal by Piers Anthony, which is one of these Xanth books. So I know these are supposed to be kind of like ridiculous parody type novels. And I know Andrew has read a bunch of these when he was younger. And thought they were okay, but I'm not sure how I will feel about it. This particular one is from 1983, and I don't know in order. This actually is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is apparently the 7th Xanth books. Now I'm pretty sure you don't have to read these in order. I actually have a Spell for Chameleon, the first one, somewhere. I got it on Book Outlet because it was going to be a punishment book at some point, just because it was supposed to be really ridiculous. So this should be interesting. Yep, there we go. I was going to say, I remember that Xanth is in the shape of Florida, which is already ridiculous. So I'll be reading the first chapter of this. It looks like it's actually kind of a long one on this one. And then we'll be seeing... I don't know how I'm going to feel about this. Oh my gosh. It's 20 pages. So we'll see... We'll see if I get through the whole thing and whether or not the humor works for me. So I feel like with this, it's going to be if the humor works for me or not. So we'll see. But let's jump in and find out. And I completely forgot to even read the back here for the synopsis. So let's jump there really quick. I was about to read and I realized. So here we have Lost in the Jungles of Xanth. There was trouble in Xanth again. All kinds of trouble, in fact. The Gap Dragon had escaped from the Gap and was ravaging across the land. The Forget spell that had covered the Gap was breaking up into small Forget whorls that wandered about giving amnesia to all they touched. Good magician Humphrey might have had the answer, but he had overdosed on water from the Fountain of Youth and was only a helpless baby. And Ivy, 3-year-old daughter of King Dor and Queen Irene, was lost in the jungles south of the Gap. While Irene thought her without much hope, Ivy was wandering further into danger, her memories erased by a passing Forget world. Her path was leading her directly to where the Gap Dragon was seeking dinner. Sounds about as weird as I would have expected. All right, let's do it. Why did I even try with this one? I knew I wasn't going to like this. I got like a few pages in, and it's this king and queen who also have magic traveling to Castle Zombie to see the zombie lords. They're riding on centaurs, and then they're greeted by a zombie centaur to see the zombie master's children, who are, I assume, also zombies. It's like, it's not written terrible, but it's just like, I don't think this is going to be for me at all, with just the style of humor. It's strange, but I feel like I already knew that ahead of time, so we're just gonna not finish, because it's a 20-page long chapter. I'm like, so let's move on to the final one. So the final book in this video is The Glass Dragon by Irene Radford. It is the Dragon Nimbus book 1. So the Glass Dragon, and that looks like it's got like a unicorn style horn. We can see Glass Dragon up there, and there's like, I think that's a wolf, and then there's a cat on the guy's shoulder. So lots of animals. Let's read the blurb. Someone is killing the dragons. Dragons have recently become an endangered species, more part of legend than life. And with their swiftly diminishing numbers, the source of all magic is fading from the land of Karanan. And in this realm, which has always been protected by its magicians, a kingdom whose ruler... That's really hard to read. It's like in the trees. A kingdom whose ruler's own life and power is intricately linked with that of dragons, the disappearance of these magical beasts could see the land fall to invaders. Jailer, a journeyman wizard, is one among many who have been sent forth from the capital to investigate, despite the fact that his mentor's magic does not follow any of the standard forms. And it is Jailer who will stumble upon one of the greatest treasures and perils remaining in Karanan when fate, or perhaps a dragon's enchantment, draws him to the spell-hidden glen of the witch woman Brevelyn. But can Jailer and... I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but it's spelled like Jailer. Jailer, maybe? I don't know. But can Jailer and Brevelyn find out who is behind the attempt to destroy the dragons and put an end to the campaign of slaughter before all magic is forever drained from the land? So that's that one. Sounds pretty simple. It looks like there are there's 3 books in the Dragon Nimbus, and then 4 books in Dragon Nimbus history. So it looks like quite a lot of stuff that Irene Radford has published. I do not know this author at all. This is from 1994, so the book as old as I am. And, hey, it actually has a map. So we've been very shy on maps in these, so you probably can't see that well. I'm trying not to bend it too far. But I always appreciate a map. Not a bad map either. Pretty simple, but always good to have a map. So, we got a really short prologue and another 20-page chapter 1. Okay, we'll try it. Hopefully this works out better than Xanth, but let's jump in. Alright, I finished chapter 1 of The Glass Dragon, which basically kind of starts with what the synopsis said. We have the journeyman magician who is incognito in a tavern in a small town. He is apparently on a quest to find a dragon and also to find more information potentially about like why they're being killed off. And like the people are like complaining and saying that they, want all the dragons to die, as well as magicians. And he's kind of found out, but he's on his way to go see the witch woman. We get a brief glimpse of a dragon. This was reading a little young, and so I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this. It sounds kind of different, but the core premise, or like the whole glass dragon part's already actually explained a bit in the first chapter. Dragons are kind of like translucent and glass-like, and apparently like when they fly and like the sun hits them, it can cause a rainbow through like a prism effect. And they are, once again, like there aren't that many left. And they're like the nimbus of the dragon, which is the series title, refers to basically they produce magic and that's what magicians can use, but there's less now. It sounds like there's also, because there was a really short little prologue which was told in first person of someone who is trying to sacrifice the last female dragon in order to like appease a god and like take power over. It also was mentioned that the world there's like a magical border that isolates them from a magical realm also. So there was kind of a lot that was put out in the first chapter. So I'm interested enough in the premise. I think I will keep this one. So that at least makes it so that it's not only one book here in this bunch. So those are the 5 random mass market paperbacks. I have a lot of other mass market paperbacks of just kind of random books, so I think I very well might do this again. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if this was interesting, hearing about some random books. Also, definitely let me know if you've read any of these, either the ones that I put in the on-haul pile or the ones that I decided to keep. And let me know your thoughts on them if you have, because it'll be interesting. And like I said, I'm not like immediately getting rid of them. So if you're like, oh no, I've read this is really good, I recommend it, I'll definitely try and keep that then. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Interested to hear. And if you'd like to see this kind of video again, because like I said, I definitely have a lot more books that I could do this with. And this was kind of interesting, and it's resulted in me being able to get rid of 4 books because I had part 2 of the quartet one. So that's pretty helpful as well, because I have a lot of books. So that is it. Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat books or really anything else at all. It is a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. Of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.